So now that I have the data in Hadoop, I want to map it, transform it, so I want to create new data sets. So I'm going to create a new mapper. A mapper allows me to map data from one or multiple data sets and create new data sets. I'm going to select the folder, the project folder when I want to keep it just to keep it organized, and just going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it map sales. And this is the connectivity information to the cluster that I'm connecting to. Once the canvas is up, I can select the source of the data. And in this case, I'm just going to select one table that has my sales data and all the fields in that table. What I want to do is I want to do a summary. I want a summary of the subtotal of the sales by year by year, month, and state. So I'm going to use an expression to do a sum of the subtotal of the sales. So I'm just associating that source with the expressions, and I'm going to build a new expression, which is basically the sum of the subtotal. And I also want to group by the begin year, month, and the state name. Now I have to select where do I want to put this data. So I'm going to select the target from the palette, and I have three options. I can use an existing table. I can create an IDS file, which is an XML that corresponds to an IDS for another application, or I can create a new table. So in this case, I'm just going to create a new table. I'm going to call it summary of sales. And I'm going to put in a schema that already exists. If I type a name of a schema that doesn't exist, it will create it. So now I have an empty table. I'm going to add a few columns to that table. I basically need three columns. One is going to be begin year, month. The other one is going to be state name. And the last one, it will be total sales. Now that I have the target table, I can map the columns that I need to my target table. And I notice that I misspelled state, so I'm going to correct that. All right, so what this is going to do is it's going to do the summary of the sales based on the month, year. Now, from here, I can look at the HQL that is generated, so you can see the code that is generated if you run it as HQL. But also, we generate the code that is needed for Scala. So I'm going to go here and look at the build option. This is going to generate the script. Let me minimize this so it gets out of the way. And now here I have a folder with all the scripts that were built to execute this job. If my environment has Spark, the Scala code is also generated. It's generated as well. So you can also inspect the code. Now this code is not meant for you to change it, but it's there for you to review what we execute when we run this job. So once I have this job created, and if this is the only job that I'm going to execute, I can prepare the configuration to execute this job. So I'm going to go to Run Configurations. Now you have two options. You have the option to build and the option to publish the deployment. If I select build, is going to build all the scripts, publish the scripts to the cluster, and then execute it. So for the purpose of this example, I'm going to select build so you can see the beginning of the execution. So So I create a new configuration. I'm going to call this summary sales. You have to select a place where you're going to keep your deployments. So that's a directory where the deployments are going to be generated. The host that your the edge node where your Big Data Integrator software is running, and the credentials that you're going to use. These are the credentials to the edge node to connect and execute the script. And I'm going to also give it a path where I want this deployment to be stored. So I'm going to call it summary sales. So basically, this is going to create a directory summary sales under this user's home directory. And I have to select the processes that I want to execute. Now, I created just now the map of sales. So I can add that one. Now, if I want this deployment to execute multiple jobs, I can come here and add them to my deployment, and including scoops and other mappings, and select in which order this will be executed. For now, I'm just going to execute the map of sales. I hit apply, I save this. Now, I have several configurations here. I'm just going to run the one that I just executed, and I'm just going to show you the beginning of the run, and that will conclude this demo. Thank you very much.